So, please close your eyes and imagine a world without extreme poverty and no fear of climate change. Who are you in this world? And how does that make you feel? Now, please open your eyes again. And let us see today how we get there. The world is balancing on a tipping point. On the one hand, the world is really getting better, and most trends are moving in the right direction. With decreased child mortality, poverty, hunger, and more people are getting access to health and education. And for the first time in history, we have a common plan, a business plan for people and planet, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. 17 goals, that meaning goals that can eradicate extreme poverty, hunger, increase gender equality, and making sure that everybody have access to education and fight climate change by 2030. On the other hand, climate change already today leads to extreme weather, and it's not moving in the right direction. We see inequalities, refugee crisis, and increased nationalism. And people feel a sense of hopelessness, a sense of not belonging. And in Sweden, more young people than ever are suffering from depression. And if we continue to do business as usual, by 2030, 40% of the people in the world will have a water shortage. 99% of the coral reef will be gone. And today, when we meet here today, 15,000 children under the age of 5 die every day of preventable causes. 15,000 children every day. So how can we make sure that we actually do move in the right direction? First, we need to work together. We need to stop acting silos and making sure that artists, politicians, the business society, and the civil society work together, as we will do here today. Secondly, we need to act now. It's only 10 years left until 2030. So, will we be able to tell the next generation, yes, we did it. We eradicated extreme poverty and we saved the planet. I believe we will, if we start act now together. And finally, we do need new innovative solutions. We need to use our creativity in solving challenges as integration in healthcare, in education, in climate change and circular economy. Our creativity is today our most valuable asset. And the UN had decided to have its first World Creativity and Innovation Day.
I just love this.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Just to encourage people to use creativity in problem solving. And that is exactly what we will see here today. How creativity is really solving some of the most pressing problems in the world.
History shows that some of the most progressive solutions to watch what the future could look like is coming from artists and science fiction writers, musicians, philosophers, creative people. And just imagine the illustrations from Michelangelo or George Orwell's 1984 or music festivals like, what was I thinking of saying? Woodstock, of course. And Al Gore's movie, An Inconvenient Truth. They all touch our hearts, not just spoke to our brains. Today, a lot of us, I think, put a lot of faith and hope and trust and focus on technology. We think that AI, machine learning, digitalization, automation, robots is going to solve the world's largest problems. But we should not forget about the non-linear thinkers, the people who could really connect. To really change, we need to touch and be touched. Our heart beats need to be aligned. The way that they do when we sing together in choirs. Change that is coming out of compassion, gratitude, joy, pride, desire, and hope will last so much longer, will be sustainable. And I believe that music and artistry could be that catalyst that could connect us together, that could make us make change. So today, we're here to celebrate the power of music, to make those connections. And not only will you meet our amazing laureates and get a little bit under their skin, we will also address health and integration through the lens of creativity. And we hope that maybe we can inspire you a little bit to make creativity an essential part of making impact.
And by this, we would like to welcome you all to Polar Talks.
And there are also some people who are not in this room, so please share your reflections and learnings and whatever you want to share on hashtags Polar Talks and hashtag Polar Music Prize.
And let us start this afternoon by welcoming last year's Polar Music Prize winner, Ahmad Sarmast. Yeah. Ahmed is the founder of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, and he really has brought back the joy of music to a country in need. So it's so fantastic to have him here to tell us what a Music Polar Prize meant for you and your organization. Again, a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Dear friends, good afternoon to everyone. It is a great honor and pleasure to be once again at the Polar Talks. Last year, I totally spoke about the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, our programs, and the challenges that we are facing. This year, I'll be not speaking much about the program of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music and how this unique institution is impacting the Afghan community, but I'll be mostly speaking out the Polar Music Prize affected the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, and what a positive energy the Polar Music Prize gives to the people of Afghanistan. Before even speaking to talk about the impact of the Polar Music Prize, I just would like to notice that it is almost impossible and very complex to speak about the impact of the Polar Music Prize on the Afghanistan music scene in general and on the Afghanistan National Institute of Music in particular within 15 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes. But I will do my best to describe the situation first, what's happened in the last year after the award of the Polar Music Prize to the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. If I may summarize, the award of the Polar Music Prize celebrated, reinforced, and perpetuated the position of music and musicians in today's Afghanistan. Polar Music Prize has been given to a country, and Polar Music Prize went last year to a place where music was entirely banned for several years. This nation, or the people of Afghanistan, has been deprived from a very basic human rights to have access to music, to learn music, to play music, and to practice music. And therefore, the award of the Polar Music Prize to this country meant a lot, not only for the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, but generally for the music lovers and the people of Afghanistan who celebrated the return of music back to Afghanistan in 2001. Even today when I'm speaking here, still the people of Afghanistan are facing many challenges, and still there's not a day that a bomb is not exploded in the city. What the Polar Music Prize meant, in spite of all the miseries that the people of Afghanistan may go on a day to day in their life, but when the Polar Music Prize news approached Afghanistan that this institution or a music institution of Afghanistan has been awarded this prestigious award, it gave probably one of the most happiness to the people of this nation. The people of Afghanistan unitedly, regardless of their gender, ethnicity, political affiliation, they rushed to the social media to celebrate this event together. And there's just, in the same way that soccer team of Afghanistan or the cricket team of Afghanistan wins an international game and coming back to Afghanistan, this is also the moment that the people of Afghanistan are united and they forgetting about everything. That's happened after the Polar Music Prize. The entire nation has been celebrating, and there was a huge joy within Afghanistan about this important recognition. And you can see here in this tweet that has been on the social media, that's one of the examples that the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, is it considered or compared to the national soccer team of Afghanistan and also to the national cricket team of Afghanistan as an institution that gives to the people of Afghanistan inspiration. Polar Music Prize has been widely covered by the Afghan media. All major and minor TV stations of Afghanistan reported on the Polar Music Prize. And Tolun TV of Afghanistan, which is the most viewed TV station of the country, live broadcast the award ceremony. But this was not just the media, radio and TV station of Afghanistan, as well as the printing media outlets of the country. But most important news come from the social media, from the ordinary people of Afghanistan. I was amazed and moved to the tears to see how many people changed their profile pictures with the photos of the students of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. How many people changed their cover walls with the photos of various ensembles and orchestras of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. But I was extremely amazed, people who are following the situation in Afghanistan on Twitter, to see how Polar Music brought together all Afghan politicians behind the music school. Even people that normally you do not see them in any concert, or you do not, the people who never make any comments publicly about the position of music in Afghan community, they've been tweeting about Polar Music Prize and the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. What I can say that in one way, in one word, the Polar Music Prize brought all Afghan people together, and everyone began to recognizing the soft power of music and the importance of music in transforming Afghan communities and also lives in Afghanistan. That's an example that's how the Prime Minister of Afghanistan or the Chief Executive Officer of Afghanistan tweeted about the Polar Music Prize. But even such a notorious Afghan politician, like who are normally known as warlords, they also didn't want to be behind the people celebrating. They also tweeted about the award of the Polar Music Prize, and they also began to recognizing the power of music. What was also very interesting for me personally to see, especially during one event in Kabul, when the Swedish embassy hosted a reception to welcome the arrival of the Polar Music Prize to Afghanistan, invited some Afghan politicians and members of the diplomatic community, as well as members of the civil society. What's happened there, and the most interesting thing that would be what one could see, especially it probably will be very well understood by the member of the Afghan community, that's top member of the cabinet were there. Opposition leaders were there. Some warlords were there. I always assumed this, that the Polar Music Prize not only brought the people of Afghanistan together, not only reunited our nation for a common cause, which is celebrating the return of music to Afghanistan, but also Polar Music Prize, in a way, though for a short term, facilitated a reconciliation between the Afghan politicians. That was very interesting to see this in Afghanistan taking place. Since 2010, Afghanistan National Institute of Music has been making a great impact on the social fabric of our country. Was making a great impact in terms of returning the musical rights of the Afghan people and ensuring the musical rights of the Afghan people. But until the Polar Music Prize, the Afghan government recognized those contributions, but in a very soft manner. There was not much public events or public announcement or public association with the music and a music school. But the Polar Music Prize, and after the Polar Music Prize, one of the most prestigious awards of Afghanistan, which is not normally given to a musician. This award is normally given to Afghan philosophers, intellectuals, people of science, but not to a musician. Because musicians have been normally considered, even in the past, as people of second class or people of loose reputation. But what the Polar Music Prize did to Afghanistan, because the award of Sayyid Jamaluddin, the state medal of Sayyid Jamaluddin Afghan, has been given to a musician. What it means in Afghanistan. What it means when the president of the country gives the toppest award to a musician. In a country where music was banned. In a country where still the ideology of Taliban is present and also shared by many people. So it also means that the importance of music and the place of music and musician in today's Afghanistan has been recognized. And for the first time, Afghan top politicians and the leader of the country recognized and acknowledged that without art and culture and music, there's no way forward. It's not the state medal themselves. In the last 10 years, when I established Afghanistan National Institute of Music, I was struggling to get the full support and to ensure the future of the only music school in Afghanistan. But after the Polar Music Prize and after this recognition by the president of the country, music education has been included in the top priorities of the Afghan government when it comes to rebuilding. What it means that the future of the music school and music education is now secured in Afghanistan. It means that the entire donor community will be coming behind this project because it is a top rebuilding project of Afghanistan. During this ceremony again, what's happened? The young musicians of Afghanistan got the platform to share the beauty of music to the entire nation, because the entire award ceremony has been live broadcasted with number of TV and radio stations of Afghanistan. While the music education and the Afghanistan National Institute of Music has been included in the top priorities of the Afghan government for rebuilding, we began also to receive more invitation, and many governmental offices began to reaching out to the Afghanistan National Institute of Music as they began recognizing the power of music. We received a number of pieces commissioned by the Afghan government to tackle important social challenges like gender equality. So the voice, the musical voice of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music has been put towards this important and actual problem in Afghanistan. Children protection. So we received an invitation to compose a song to promote children protection in Afghanistan. Child girls' rights in Afghanistan. All this happened within a year and after the Polar Music Prize. For the musician of Afghanistan, while the Polar Music Prize had a great impact on the Afghanistan National Institute of Music and cementing the position of Afghan's School of Music, also at the same time, the Polar Music Prize had a great impact on the community of Afghan musicians as well. For the Afghan musician, an acknowledgement and recognition from the Polar Music Prize has elevated a widespread pride in our music making. In our music making as individual and in the ability to confidently represent our collective musical identities. And also it served as a platform in terms of promoting music and music education as relevant, accepted, and respected function of the country. And this has been further celebrated during one of the latest gala concert of our school. But due to the time restriction, I'm not going to describe that, how this message has been represented at the gala concert, but also when we are talking about inclusivity. So the Polar Music Prize not only brought Afghan musicians together, but also the number of the girls' enrollment in the Afghanistan National Institute of Music rocketed up this year. If in the past we've been recruiting and we're trying to promote gender equality through enrolling orphans and street working children in the music school, but this year, while we still kept our promise and enrolled about 50 disadvantaged kids through the Save the Children to the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, but girls' enrollment from ordinary families and even from the middle class of the Afghan society was huge in Kabul this year. Here is just some messages about or tweets about the gala concert, because gala concert happened in a time when peace negotiation began between the government of the United States and the Taliban. And of course, any peace talks and also the return of the Taliban will be having some consequences impact on the achievements of the last 18 years in Afghanistan, one of which is the return of music. And therefore, we took this opportunity also to promote and to do advocacy for the musical rights of Afghanistan not to be compromised in any peace talks under any circumstances. And we also joined the Red campaign, the Red Line campaign, which is a campaign initiated by the civil society of Afghanistan, ensuring that the achievements of the last 18 years are not compromised during the peace talks. If I can have this video, please.
ما نمیخوایم در پروسه صلح و یا به نام پروسه صلح یک بار دیگر سازهای موسیقی را در درخت‌ها به دار زدگی ببینم. برای من حقوق موسیقی مردم افغانستان خط سرخ و اساسی است.
I'm just finishing now 2 more points. It was not just, the Polar Music Prize did not have just a local impact or an impact on the national level, but also it raised awareness about the existence of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music and our program worldwide. We received many requests for making documentaries about the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. All major news outlets of the world and radio and TV station reported about the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. But also it was not just the reports and media coverage, but we also began to receiving many invitations to travel around the world with various ensembles and students of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music to perform. Also, people of goodwill began to reaching out and offering their financial support as well as their supporting goods. And after the Polar Music Prize, the first donation that we received, it was from the Metallica. That they, a portion of their prize, many prize, come back to the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. The Royal Academy of Music of Sweden secured 10 pianos to be shipped to Afghanistan very soon. Plus, they secured the support of Yamaha and some other music producers, music instrumental producers, for shipping huge number of musical instruments to Afghanistan. But when it comes to the international tours, the biggest events or the highlights was a sold-out concert here in Sweden just a few months back in March, when the Zora Orchestra or the all-women orchestra of Afghanistan played a full house sold-out concert in the Swedish Radio Concert Hall. But when we are talking about all those positive changes, let's finish that all the impact and energy that we're receiving here and other consequences and the result of the Polar Music Prize goes back to Afghanistan, to young musicians and students of the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. Thank you.